Shalom everyone and welcome to Busisiwe Baruch in Hebrew, which means exalted or respected. My name is Abigail. I'm continuing with the reflection that I said in the previous discussion that I had last week. It was actually, as I said, it was Shabbat, but was already in the during the sunset, and as I was just sitting outside in patio, just having fresh air, early hours of the evening, as I said, it was sunset, and just reflecting in the times and reflecting what is going on in the times in which we're living in. As initially the thought that came to me was everybody doing something in the name of Yahuwah and being convinced that they are the ones that have the way, they are the ones that have the truth. And that's when Yahuwah brought to me that scripture in the book of Shaphatim or Judges chapter 17 from verse 1 to 13, which speaks about that everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And then the question, as I was reflecting on this, was the statement also that said the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. Then I asked myself, the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. And then Yahuwah took me to the book of Samuel chapter 2 from verse 22 to 36. This is where we find this text where the statement, the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days, no vision breaking forth. And let us read Shamal or Samuel chapter 2 from verse 22 to 36. It reads, And Ali, otherwise known as Eli, was very old and had heard all that his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who were assembling at the door of the tent meeting. And he said to them, Why do you do actions like these? For I hear of your evil actions from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear, making the people of Yahuwah transgress. If one man sins against another, Allah shall judge him. But if a man sins against Yahuwah, who shall pray for him? But they did not listen to the voice of their father, though Yahuwah was pleased to put them to death. And the young man Shamal, or known as Samuel, was growing in stature and was in favor with Yahuwah and also with men. And the man of Allah came to Ali or Eli and said to him, Thus says Yahuwah, did not clearly reveal himself to the house. Thus says Yahuwah, did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in midstream in Pharaoh's house, even to choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon my altar, to burn incense, and to wear a shoulder garment before me? And did I not give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Israel made by fire? Why do you kick at my slaughtering, my offering which I have commanded in my Mishkan, and esteem your sons above me, to make yourself fat with best of the offerings of Israel, my people? Therefore Yahuwah Allah of Israel says, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father would walk before me forever. But now Yahuwah says, far be it from me, for those who highly esteem me I highly esteem, and those who despise me I lightly esteem. See, the yomim are coming, or the days are coming, that I shall cut off your arm and the arm of your father's house, and so that an old man shall not be found in your house, and you shall see an enemy in my Mishkan, despite all the good which Allah does for Israel. And there shall not be an old man in your house forever, but any of your men whom I do not cut off of my altar, is to consume your eyes and grieve your life, and all the increase of your eyes dies as men. And this is the sign to you that comes upon your two sons, upon Kophni and Pekanes. In one or in one day they are going to die, both of them. And I shall raise up for myself a trustworthy priest who does according to what is in my heart and in my being, and I shall build him a steadfast house, and he shall walk before me anointed forever. Now, the word that says that, or the statement that says the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days, is found then in the book of Shamal chapter 3 verse 1. Now, but before we could go to that word, which is in Shamal or Samuel chapter 3 verse 1, we had to go a chapter early and to get an understanding. Why was it that the word of Yah was rare in those days? What was going on that the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days? And how could the word of Yahuwah be rare in those days when we are seeing such activities taking place in the Mishkan of Yahuwah, in the tent of meeting? Again, think about this. Nothing new under the sun. What was, is in our times. That there are so many, it's busy. Very, very, very hectic and busy. Whether it is on a Shabbat or Saturdays, or it is on a Sunday, first day of the week, there is so much religious activities taking place. Yet, we are told the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days. Isn't the word of Yahuwah rare also in our days? No vision breaking forth in our times. When there's so many claiming that they are the ones that have the way, that they are the ones that have the truth, whether Christian Orthodox or Catholics or Pentecostals or any of this movement, in the busy, hectic, week in, week out, week in, week out. As we read this passage, we get to understand why was the word of Yahuwah rare. In spite of a lot of activities that were taking place in the tent meeting, yet the word of Yahuwah was rare in those days. As I said, nothing new under the sun. We find ourselves exactly in the same position in our days like it was in those days. So much activities taking place, as I say, week in, week out. Saturdays, Sundays, busy weekends mainly, even during the week. Whether the activities in the form of preaching, in the form of teachings, in the form of singing, busy, it's hectic, so much, but busy, abantu. In person, in social media, yet there is no vision breaking forth. Yet there is no word of Yahuwah. His word is rare. How are we told that his word is rare when there's preachings week in, week out? Saturday in, Saturday out, Sunday in, Sunday out, during the week. Every time you go on YouTube, somebody is speaking the word. Well, practical example, as you're watching, happen to be in this channel, I'm also speaking the word. But we are told that the word of Yahuwah was rare. And it becomes more clear what it refers to in Shamal or Samuel chapter 3 verse 1. It wasn't just the written word, but it's referring to no vision breaking forth. How so? How so? Why is it that the word of Yahuwah is rare in our days? Why is it that there is no vision breaking forth? Could it be that the workers are not appointed by Yahusha, according to Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11. Could it be that the workers are not are self-established, like we found out in the previous teaching, where Micah established a priest because he could afford? Could it be that the vision is not breaking forth, the word of Yahuwah is not breaking forth because those that are ministering are doing it for other ulterior motives, to just have a head over their shoulder, the covering over their head, like in the case of the previous teaching in the book of Judges from verse 17, that this young man accepted the offer, Micah's offer, because he needed covering over his head. He needed roof over his head. He needed clothes. He was sojourning from one place to the other, whoever could accommodate him. That he needed his needs to be met. He needed resources. Not necessarily because Yahuwah wanted him to be declaring his message, that he necessarily wanted him to be the priest who stand in the gap to Yahuwah, standing in the gap before Yahuwah on behalf of the land, on behalf of the people. Could it be because those that can afford have established, not only from the affordability resources point of view, but just so that they can be comfortable within themselves, that they've established and they've appointed as pastors, as evangelists, as teachers, as apostles, as prophets, those that are within their circles, their associates, their allies, those who say, yes, my friend, yes, Papa O, yes, without questioning, without asking, this could be right in your eyes, this could be right in my eyes. Is it right in the eyes of Yahuwah? Is it what Yahuwah has said we must do? It's a big question that makes you to think twice and say, I'm going to wait until Yahuwah speaks on this matter. Even if it means I'm going to be unpopular, even if it means people are going to say you are stupid, you are not wise, why don't you do this? Yahuwah doesn't want to be helped. What happened to the man, I think it was Uzi, when the Ark of the Covenant was falling from the oxen, and he tried to hold it, to sustain, to keep it from not falling. Yahuwah struck him there and there, and he died. And Dawood said, Yahuwah, if you do that, so I'm scared. What are we supposed to do then? How are we supposed to handle this covenant? Why did Yahuwah strike this person dead there and there? Because he doesn't need Yahuwah help. He doesn't need people to step in and say, let me help Yahuwah. Let me do this for Yahuwah. Did I say I'm not capable of doing this by myself? Did I say I'm not capable to do this on my own? Who said I needed your help? Step back. Step aside. Now this is what we are saying, that this could be the reason that even in our times, lots of activities are taking place, yet the word of Yahuwah is rare in our days, just as it was in their times. Could it be that the worship is misdirected? We spoke about the teaching as to who is supposed to be worshipped, where we're correcting that worship belongs to Yahuwah the Father. We honor Yahusha, his son. We respect Yahusha, his son, but we don't worship him. He himself, Yahusha, told us to worship Yahuwah, to worship the Father, to serve the Father. So, could it be that in this business, just like Yahusha said to Martha, 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 you are busy with many things. Miriam, whom you are complaining that she's not doing anything, that she's just sitting at my feet, she has found the right place to be at. She is doing the best thing that she's supposed to be doing, sitting at my feet. A lot of the time, people, they would say to you that you are lazy, They would say to you, why don't you do something? Be busy with something. What if Yahuwah just says to me, be still? Be still. Just wait until I tell you what to do. Because you find yourself under pressure to do something because everybody else is around you is busy. Everyone else around you is doing something. Now you feel the urge that, well, if I'm not doing anything, it's basically it means that I'm not called. I need to prove that I'm called. Yahusha was tested. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, it doesn't matter, by his own brothers. They said to him, why are you with us here when there is a feast in Jerusalem? Who has gift, who has such powers can hide themselves? Why don't you go out there and be seen? Why don't you go out there and be known? You are going to have these people that are going to be putting pressure on you. Oh, you such have a beautiful voice. Why don't you record? Why don't you sing? You are so knowledgeable in the word, in the scriptures. Why don't you start a YouTube channel? Why don't you preach? Why don't you teach? Why don't you do this and this and this and this? People can push you before your time, even if it is a gift that is from Yahuwah, but is it Yahuwah's timing? And that's what Yahusha said to his brothers. You guys can go at any time, but my time is not yet. So he did not allow to be put under pressure by people, because people can do that. Revelation chapter 13 verse 10 tells us who is to be worshipped. We see this in the book of Revelation chapter 19 verse 10 when Yahukanon, otherwise known as John, has this conversation with a malak or an angel. And the word tells us that it says, I fell at his feet to worship him, but he said to me, see, do not do it. I am your fellow servant and of your brothers who possess the witness of Yahusha. Worship Yahuwah, for the witness of Yahusha is the ruach of prophecy. So in the midst of this business, in the midst of these activities, Sunday in, Sunday out, Saturday in, Saturday out, during the day, during the week, yet the word of Yahuwah is still rare, yet there is no vision breaking forth. In the times of Samuel, what was happening? In the times of Ali or Eli, what was happening? His sons, they were laying with women. How they lay with women who were assembling at the door of the tent of the meeting. There was no fear of Yahuwah whatsoever. Fornication was taking place in the house of Yahuwah. Adultery was taking place in the house of Yahuwah with the men of the cloth. I'm saying the men of the cloth because the sons of Ali or the sons of Eli were priests. What is new in our times? What is new in our generation when people fall pregnant or the pastors impregnate their fellow members in their congregations? Cases of rape has been opened. A number of them, where the very same shepherd who was supposed to take care of the flock, ujila stock, the very same sheep that was supposed to protect a nature and teach them the ways of Yahuwah, he took advantage of them. And unfortunately, even in our times, we cannot even say that the boys are safe. Because the leaders now, they do it both ways. They will take advantage of the girls. They will take advantage of the boys as well. You think it's just the boys' camp. Your boy might not be safe with that leader of the church. In the tent meeting, they were sleeping with women. In the assembly at the door of the tent meeting. Purity is no longer a term that is preached or proclaimed. Holiness is no longer a message that is proclaimed. Being set apart, being sanctified, keeping yourself until you marry. People, one lady who goes to one church in Randburg laughed at me when I spoke about keeping yourself until you get married. She's like, Abigail, what are you talking about? No one is doing that as long as you are not pregnant. That's all she said to me. I was shocked to the core. Because to the extent that even the churches, they will only some of the churches will excommunicate you because you have fallen pregnant. So they wouldn't excommunicate you when you are fornicating. No. They just want the evidence of fornication, which is the baby. You're pregnant. Now what happens to gays and lesbians? Because they're not going to fall pregnant. When men sleep in the women, they're going to fall pregnant. So that's acceptable. So you can continue to minister in Yahuwah's Mishkan, in his presence, in his sanctuary, in his tabernacle, as long as there is no pregnancy. What nonsense is going on in the house of Yahuwah? That is why the word of Yahuwah is rare. That's why the vision is not breaking forth. That's why Yahusha whipped them hard. And he said, you have made my father's house a den of thieves. When they were busy selling pigeons and hectic, holidays. It was hectic also in those days, in those times of Yahusha. And he says, have you not read? Do you not know that my father's house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations? You have made it a brothel. You have made it a social club, a network opportunity, an opportunity to be discussing tenders and deals out there. A social club. Oh, forgive us, dear Father. How then do we expect his vision to be breaking forth? How then do we expect his word to be breaking forth? The very same leaders are causing, verse 24 of Shamal, or Samuel chapter 2 verse 24, it says that I hear that you are making the people of Yahuwah transgress. The very same leaders are the ones that are leading the people, the flock, to idolatry, to worshipping of idols, starting with the leaders themselves, that they are worshipped, that they are exalted above other people, that they're not servants anymore. That there is a hierarchy, what kind of seats the leaders must sit, and they can't just sit in any other normal chairs. No, they must have this huge, like Grafton Everest kind of chairs, or Goma Goma, whatever these big brands. Why? When Yahusha himself was said, whoever wants to be greatest among you must be the servants of all. Look at me. He washed the feet of his disciples, showing them humility, that he came to serve, not to be served. Causing people to transgress, because people, they learn from your actions more than the words you speak. You might be quoting scriptures, but your lifestyle, people will observe, people will learn. That's what even children do. Children learn from their parents, from their actions more than what they say. You're making the people of Yahuwah transgress. What did Yahusha say? Yahusha said that if anyone causes even this little one to transgress, it would be better for him to have a stone hanged around his neck and be thrown into the deep waters or into the sea. This is what the leaders are doing in our times. They are causing people who are coming to wanting to genuinely, innocently hear the word of Yahweh. They cause them to stumble. They cause them to sin, which then they will get, which Yahweh said, that it will be better for them than even just having that stone. That's the punishment. If that's why the word talks about that those who are teachers, they will incur much stricter judgment, because much is expected to them from them. Even as Yahuwah says, to him whom much is given, much is accepted. So we need to be careful of our conduct. Humble ourselves before Yahuwah. Always remember who called us, why we are doing what we're doing. Is what we're doing pleasing in his heart, in his eyes, or only right in our eyes? Because we cannot afford to cause the people of Yahuwah to transgress. Yes, they will be punished, but more so those who cause them to transgress. And while that is happening, we are seeing that there is this young man who is adopted, if I may use the term. It's not a son, a biological, it's not coming from the loins of Ali or Eli. This young man is growing in stature, having favor with Yahuwah and also with men. We see in the midst of this is what is happening. Yahuwah is angry at these people. He says, did I not give to the house of your father's offering of the children of Israel? Like, I have provided for you. Yahuwah says, I've made a provision for you. As he always said that the Levites, they have an inheritance from him. You would remember in the times of Yahusha, the sons of Nun, when they were entering the promised land and there was a division of the lands, he said that Levites did not have to go and fight, because they were Yahuwah's inheritance or portion, and Yahuwah was the one providing for them. They were the ones that Yahuwah provided for. They didn't have to sell their souls for their needs to be met, just like the young man that we see who now ended up submitting to Micah so that his needs could be met. And we see that what they were doing, these people, they were the sons of Ali, they were actually now grabbing the offerings from the people, forcefully grabbing the offerings from the people, taking the slaughtering offering which he had commanded for the Mishkan and esteems one. And it says, to make yourself, they made themselves fat with the best of the offerings that was supposed to be for Yahuwah coming from Yeshua. They took it for themselves. It was all now about themselves. Nothing new under the sun. When I was saddened when my mother was in a pensioner, that in a church where she goes to, she has to contribute money for the pastor who already has a full-time job as a lecturer in a university. He already has a salary at a university. He is a lecturer, and his wife is an advocate. Probably now, I think, is a magistrate now. It's not just practicing as an advocate, but a magistrate, like that, having good salary. But they must be the one, my mother who's a pensioner and so many other people who live on grants must contribute the little that they have given by government so that they can go on holiday, so that they can have a birthday present, so that they can replace a car. Their car is now old. Buy them furniture. What nonsense is that in the house of Yahuwah? Because you can even afford, and you're taking from those that are poor. That's greed at its best. Who called you? Why are you in this position in the first place? Why don't you just stick to your job then as a lecturer or wherever your work is at? This is happening in our days, and it was happening in the times of Ali, when the word of Yahuwah was rare, yet busy in the tent of meetings. Offerings are taking place, sacrifices are taking place, priesthood activities, Levitical activities are taking place, but Yahuwah is not there. The glory has departed. Can we reflect? and say, if Yahusha were to come back now, what would he find happening? Is he pleased as he's seeing us? He doesn't have to see what we're doing when he returns. He already sees. Yahuwah sees what we're doing in his tent of meeting. Yahusha sees what we're doing in his name. And yet, according to Ephesians 4, he's like, I never knew you. I don't know you. I never knew you. This is very important. And Yahusha says, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a sign. Your sons, both of your sons, are going to die in a day. And I shall raise myself a trustworthy priest who does according to what is in my heart and my being. Who's not going to take instructions from an employer? Because now the pastors have become employers. The apostles have now become employers. They now have a payroll. They now have a staff, chief of staff. Where is Yahuwah in this? Now Yahuwah says, I am going to appoint for myself, I'm going to raise for myself a trustworthy priest who will do according to my heart and my being, not according to what those that can afford, according to the resources, or those that have appointed, those who would want to preach. Even Yahusha talks about that in the last days. The Word of Yahuah tells us that in the last days, the people will be they'll be wanting messages that will tickle their ears because they pay the pastor. Their offerings pay the salary of a pastor. Their tithes and offering pay the salary of so they can frustrate the man called by Yahuwah. They can frustrate the woman called by Yahuwah to say, well, if you continue to preach these messages and teach on these messages of being sanctified, of holy living, of being pure, so we're going to just pull the brake. We're going to just pull the handbrake. We'll see how you're going to preach if we don't give offerings and tithe. We're just going to hold our purses. We're just going to hold our wallets. We'll see what you're then going to do. Now, you now as a man called or a woman called of Yahuwah, because you are thinking from your stomach, for your needs, for your comfort, you're going to now change your messages. Your message. Now, no longer what Yahuwah says you must preach or teach on, but what is going to make you popular with the people that are paying you. It's like it's now a case of having to please the shareholders. They are the ones who are coffers. They are the kingdom financiers. You must keep them happy, keep them comfortable. Don't speak of their sins. Don't tell them what Yahuwah says. This is the mess that we find ourselves in our times, and that's why the word of Yahuwah is rare in our times, just as it was then. This is why the vision is not breaking forth. And the word tells us in Revelation chapter 19 that for the witness of Yahusha is the ruach of prophecy. This Malak that spoke to Yahukanon or John, he started by saying, don't worship me. But he said to him, worship Yahuwah. He said, I am a fellow servant and of your brothers who possess the witness of Yahusha. We all should possess the witness of Yahusha. Not certain people, but we should all possess the witness of Yahusha. We should all worship Yahuwah, as Revelations 19 verse 10 says. The Malak or the angel did not say worship Yahusha. No, the angel said have the witness of Yahusha, but worship Yahuwah. Hence I spoke about misdirected worship. Even this angel in this case tells us who to worship, who to be a witness of. We must witness. We must be a witness of Yahusha, but worship Yahuwah. And the angels continue to say that The witness of Yahusha is the Ruach of prophecy. So where there is no prophecy taking place, where there is no vision breaking forth, you should question the witness of Yahusha. Is it there? Or is it the witness of so many other activities and so many business? But it's not necessarily the witness of Yahusha. For if it was the witness of Yahusha, prophecy should spring forth, should come forth. For the witness of Yahusha is the Ruach of prophecy. The witness, the testimony of the existence of Yahusha is the spirit of Yahusha, is the spirit of prophecy. Why is it the spirit of prophecy? For the word of Yahuah is manifest where Yahusha is mentioned. For why? The word himself, the word of Yahuah, the word tells us that in the book of Yahuah, also John chapter 1, it says that in the beginning was the word, and the word was with Yahuah, and the word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. Yahusha is the word of Yahuah. Yahusha is the word of Yahuah. So where Yahusha is, the word of Yahuah will spring forth. The Rhema word of Yahusha will spring forth. Not something that you read 1,000 years ago, or your grandfather read 1,000 years ago. What is he saying today? Today, the book of Hebrews tells us that today when you hear his voice, today, not yesterday. That's why people had to have daily bread. They had to collect manna that was fresh every single day. Every time that they tried to keep this manna, when they tried to eat it the following day, it would rot. It would have been rotten already. It would have worms. Only on the sixth day that they had to take 2 portions for the 6th day and the 7th day. Any other day, they had to eat the food provided, the bread provided by Yahuah on that particular day, and eat it and finish it, and then the following day go and say, we are hungry for you. Oh Yahuah, fill us. We are thirsty for you. Oh Yahusha, oh Yahuah, fill us, fill our thirst. And not be relying on a sermon that was written last year. Not rely on a sermon that was written by someone who died long time ago. What is the current revelation that Yahuah is revealing right now? What is the revelation that the Ruach of Yahuah is revealing right now, today? What is he saying right now? Don't go and like, oh, let me go through my files, my archives of teachings and books and whatever. Everything has got its time. Yeah, you can go to that to edify yourself, but you cannot be sustained by borotho ba mabane. You can't be sustained by yesterday's bread. That's why even when we pray, according to Matthew, otherwise known as Matthew chapter 6, where when the disciples came to Yahushua and says, Master, teach us to pray. And Yahushua said, this is how you must pray. How? So it's a method, it's a guide. How you should pray. Give us our daily bread. Daily go and seek for bread. He even says it in his way. Why worry about tomorrow? Enough of the problems for today. Don't worry about tomorrow. But with supplication and thanksgiving, make your request known to your Father who is in the Shamayim, who is in heaven. That's all we asked. The witness, the testimony of the existence of Yahusha is the spirit of prophecy, the word of Yahuah, for he is the word. As I said, in the beginning was the word. I know that this can be depressing and discouraging when one looks around. I find myself in that position when I question and say, what exactly is happening in the tent meeting of Yahuah? Why is everyone doing this? It can be depressing, it can be discouraging. Why are we not experiencing the Ruach of prophecy? Why are we not experiencing the move of the Ruach of Yahuwah just like the early emissaries? Why the word of Yahuwah is so rare in our days? Why the vision is not breaking forth? Why are we only hearing motivational speaking in the pulpit? Why are we only hearing motivational speaking on internet, on YouTube, on all social media? It's all about name it and claim it and grab it and you shall have it. It's all about us. It's all about you. Believe in yourself. Confess it, decree it, declare it. It's all about, what is Yahuwah is saying? What does he want? It's all just become motivational speaking. If you believe it, you can have it. If you say it, you can have it. Just all feel good kind of messages, all focusing on us. What about Yahuwah's commandments? What about his laws and instructions, his directive? The good news is that Yahuwah always has a remnant. Just as Shammah or Samuel was a remnant in the times where the sons of Ali or Eli were doing all the nonsense in the house of Yahuwah, where the word of Yahuwah was rare and the vision was not breaking forth, even then Yahuwah had a remnant. Shammah or Samuel was that remnant. It's not the end of the world. Even in the times of Elijah, or otherwise known as Elijah, he felt that he was the only one remaining. Everybody else was bowing down to Baal. And Yahuwah had to say to him and remind him, don't think that you're the only one. I have reserved for myself 7,000 whose knee have not bowed down to Baal nor kissed him. I have reserved for myself. So when you think you are the only one who is on the way, in the way, or in the path, everybody else, don't think so. Take courage. One of the sisters that we fellowship with, she said to me, Sister Abigail, this doesn't make sense. How come is it is only us? Where are other people? And I just referred to the scripture, to exactly this verse. Said, never say that. The fact that you don't see them, the fact that you don't hear them, the fact that you don't know them, doesn't mean that they are not there. Do what Yahuwah has laid in your heart. Walk in obedience. There is a remnant. He always has a remnant. You are not alone. And that's why it's very important that we encourage each other to not give up, to not lose hope, to not despair. Yahuwah will raise us up, and then will continue to bring forth his message without fear, without any favors, because we know who has called us. We know who we are to please. And when that happens, then we will then see in the assembly the vision breaking forth that will bring healing to the sick, deliverance to the brokenhearted. And even as the word says, that the spirit of Yahusha said that he was in the book of Luke. He actually quoted from the book of Yeshaya or Isaiah, where he said that the Ruach of Yahuwah is upon me. He has sent me to bring the message of peace, to bind the wounds of the ones that are broken, and deliverance to them, to proclaim the message of the kingdom. That anointing is available in our times to destroy the yoke of the enemy and remove the burdens from the shoulders of the people. Let us focus our eyes to the one who began a good work in us, for he shall perfect and complete it, and only trust and follow and obey him. Shalom.